Does anyone care? 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 Does anyone?
The Marvels is a movie about a trio of characters that no one cares about, doing things no one's interested in, utilizing a plot device that no one understands, and fighting an enemy that no one's ever heard of. The film has no particular audience, no one's going to bat for it, and the studio seems more to be bracing for the squealing brakes, crumpled engine, shattered windshield, twisted metal, snapped and dangling side mirrors, and vertebra-dislocating whiplash, with no prospect of a protective airbag preventing facial hematomas and soft tissue damage. The kind of impact that, necessitating months of facial reconstructive surgery, would result in someone's appearance being as artificial, featureless, doughy, and unsettling as Kevin Feige's. Captain Marvel came out in 2019 and grossed $1 billion, but much of that box office bonanza was due to it being released amidst the heady atmosphere of the Infinity Saga, when any Marvel feature was essential viewing, and might offer fans tacit, tantalizing hints to the climactic film. 4 years on, mainstream audiences have long since lost any sense of cohesion of what belongs in what Marvel timeline, have struggled to keep up with, let alone stay invested in the various phases, and become befuddled by a multiverse that has made everything convoluted. Over 4 years, audiences have seen many of their favorite characters gender or race swapped, or overshadowed by younger, more assertive sidekicks. They've had to peer and squint at gloomy, overly dense CGI landscapes, and gazed blarily in a state of bloated, flatulent oneness, as runtimes have stretched far beyond what is necessary for mass mainstream entertainment. Over 4 years, audiences have had to contend with a genre fading in popularity and growing passé, so that paying to watch such content feels more like an exercise in rigmarole and habit than a visceral experience. 4 years on from when a Marvel release had a pop-cultural gleam and shimmer, stirred anticipation and brought a shared experience and catharsis, disaffected customers have taken to sitting in partially empty cinemas to watch a succession of bombs. In a wider sense, they have seen Disney, the monolith behind it all, become disconnected from its audience, be too indulgent of writers and showrunners co-opting beloved properties and slathering them in identity politics. Seen such products become lampooned in pop culture, a cavalcade of dubious retirements and firings and high-level corporate territorial pissings, abandoned grandiose projects, and Disney shares slipping perilously below $80. And now, after all of the risk aversion and scarcity of new concepts, the returning to the stagnant well of existing properties, the flaky excesses of identity junkies, and the heaped shovelfuls of messaging, we have finally made it down the yellow brick road to the release of The Marvels. It is a fascinating study in every conceivable thing either going wrong or being inherently lame to begin with. It features Captain Marvel, who people sort of remember from a film from 2019 and having subsequently appeared in a handful of cameos, and who has now been reduced from a lead to one of 3 co-leads, with the other 2 being so obscure most cinema-goers won't have any clue who they are, other than perhaps having seen them in trailers or in the occasional episode of tonally and thematically disparate shows. They will not know what their backstories are and will have to rely on contrived, momentum-killing info dumps and exposition to get a sense of how and where they fit in. In order to understand this movie, you have had to have seen the original Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel on Disney+, which was originally behind the paywall but no one watched it so they gave it away for free and the numbers were still poor, and WandaVision on Disney+, a laborious amount of homework for a feature with nothing to recommend it. Estimates have the show on track to barely make half of what Captain Marvel earned, and with pre-sales lower than Ant-Man Quantumania, which is disastrous given the film's budget ballooned to a scarcely comprehensible $270 million. Factoring in marketing and distribution costs, you're looking at upwards of $800 million, which equates to almost $10 million per minute of screen time. Brie Larson has come across in interviews as either prickly or wanly ambivalent about the role and any future with it. There have been rumors of contention and dissatisfaction behind the scenes during shooting. The film has undergone chronic delays and reshoots, implying severe misgivings, creative issues, and structural problems. It's allegedly experienced poor initial audience test screenings. It has a massively reduced runtime, cut down 3 times that we know of, reduced from a 2-hour 20-minute movie to possibly just 88 minutes, perhaps to reframe the project as a swift, wacky thrill ride, but really giving the impression the film can't wait to be done with itself. It has been subjected to a review embargo, set in place until just 2 days before release on November 10th. ostensibly to reduce review bombing, but in reality to try and mitigate against a bloodbath of genuinely incredulous and scathing takes from a wide variety of mainstream outlets. Finally, it has had the 11th hour jamming in of an alleged post-credit scene, connecting the MCU to a previous generation of films, as if anyone cares about such gambits or cross-pollinations at this point. What an absolute shit show. 2023 will likely be regarded as the year in which the superhero movie died as a powerful box office force. And while DC's behemoth, The Flash, bombed, and Aquaman 2 will likely be a train wreck, the Marvels may be the quintessential defining flop. A comedy of errors, strung out interminably, and inciting not so much anger as apathy. And perhaps something even less than that, a kind of vague incredulity that a superhero genre that first emerged in 2008 and has dominated pop culture ever since has almost no remaining appeal. Tellingly, there has been no preemptive defense, no online assertions that cynics are only lining up against it because they're a bunch of ists and phobes. There is also the sense, after the universal dissing of a project like Ahsoka, that everyone, from the most entrenched reactionaries to the most affable liberals, are poised to either snub or kick the film around, and that even the smattering of dogged defenders might decide it's better, in this instance, to pick your battles. The Marvels will be loud and zany and kinetic and full of energy and do its best to entertain, but as a film, it's at the arse end of an expended genre. And really, a whole era of vainglorious, indulgent, sanctimonious, and alienating entertainment that is ending, as T.S. Eliot said, not with a bang, but with a whimper.